Good morning, Panthers. Mr. Wenish here again. Just here to introduce your goal for today and what you should be working on. So our goal is to take those sketches that you drew out yesterday and rank them using a decision matrix. And so again, you should have done your Panther Pride, got your planners filled out with this goal, and attendance should be done. And so we are just on to our decision matrix directions. And so let's jump right into it. Before I do, though, I thought I would show our new family member. This is Noah. Noah James Chusing Wenish. He weighed 8 pounds 13 ounces and he's 22 inches long. And so that's him with his sisters, Adeline and Elena. I'm still missing design briefs from Karime George, Larissa, Eric Christopher, Anthony Kenji, and Damon and Davina. Now, yesterday you were supposed to be working on just your sketches. I didn't think that was very much to get done. I was very surprised at the number of students that did not get that done. Remember, get your work done first before you go and do anything else. And so first period, we have a Javion, Karime, George, Larissa, Mohammed, Mac, Nadia, Michael, Paul, Kamariana, Christopher, Kelvin. Third period, Anthony, Caden, Cameron, Jaquan, Isaac, Kanku, Myri, Kenji, and Cody. Fourth period, Nico, Angelina, Mohammed, Pleasant, Damon, Isaac, Charlize, Jalen, Davina, and Draven. It's going to be very tough to do your work for today if you do not have your sketches done. So that's what you have to work on first before you can even do your rankings of your sketches. So, a decision matrix. Basically, that's how you look at your different ideas to determine which one is the best. And you rank them on different areas. So like this one was cost, complexity, development time. And the higher the number, the better it is. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at different materials you could use to build shapes or build models. And so the models are just like blocks put together. And so they're just showing examples. We've got sugar, caramel, foam cubes, interlocking blocks, modeling clay, and dice. And so they're just going to go ahead and use these to determine which one would be the best to use to make models. Good things about modeling clay, it's reusable, it's easy to find. Bad things, it requires forming. Good things, it's sticky. Bad, it's imprecise geometry because you gotta make it yourself. Caramel cubes, they're fairly cheap, they're easy to find, they already kind of have a square shape to them, they are sticky, but they're not perfect squares. Dice, they cost a little bit more, they're not too bad, they are reusable, they won't stick together, so to make that shape you would need a two-sided tape to get to stay together. And they have pretty good squares. They're all pretty much the same. Centimeter cubes, or interlocking cubes, are expensive, but they are reusable. They are interlocking. The bad thing about them is they have protrusions sticking out, and so you don't want that thing sticking out there. And they do have a precise geometry. Foam blocks, they're kind of expensive. You can reuse them. They do require tape again. They fall apart easily, and their geometry isn't always perfect. And finally, sugar cubes. They're cheap. They're easy to find. They do require glue to get them to stick together. They do have kind of a mess when you're done, but overall, their squares are pretty well shaped unless they get beat up a little bit. So there's lots of different criteria you can use to rank them on. For this one, we use cost, reusability, their shape, how they connect together, cleanliness, resilience, and I think we're going to skip testability. There's lots of different things you can look at though, size, things like this. There's lots of different things you can look at. And so when we talk about a decision matrix, we usually rank things, with 4s being the best, 1s being the worst. And sometimes just a yes or no question, so they get a 2 if it's a yes, a 1 if it's a no. Alright, so when you do these, you always want to start with a single criteria, so like cost, and go through and rank all 4, or all 6 of them. You don't want to go across this way, you always want to go up and down. And so when I look at these 6, clay, cubes, dice, interlocking ones, foam cubes, sugar cubes. Well, I know that these are expensive, and the foam cubes are pretty expensive. I know sugar's pretty cheap. I know caramel cubes are going to be fairly cheap. Clay's not too bad. And so if I'm ranking them, like this one, the cubes, these two would probably get 1s for being expensive. Where sugar's probably get a 4. Caramel's probably get a 4. Modeling clay probably a 3. Dice maybe a 2. And so let's see what they did. And they actually get dice a 1. They said it's pretty dang expensive. Compared to the interlocking cubes, though, it's definitely cheaper than interlocking cubes. Alright, next one. You're reusable. Can we reuse them after we're done? And so, can we reuse clay? Can we reuse caramel? Dice? Interlocking cubes? Foam cubes? Sugar cubes? This is going to be a yes or no question. Basically, does it get ruined after you make it? And so if you're gluing sugar together, you probably aren't going to be able to reuse that. That's probably going to be a 1. If you're using something that's food, well, you probably aren't going to want to reuse that one either. But I could be wrong. They might have said that you can reuse it. So we'll take a look. And nope, those are the 2 they said you could not reuse. All the rest of them you could take apart and reuse again. Uniform geometry. This one I assume they're probably going to rank with the 1, 2, 3, 4. With the ones like dice would probably be a 4 because it's got a good shape to it. Cubes, these interlocking cubes, probably a 4. Caramel cubes probably be like a 1. Well, that might be a 2 actually because modeling clay, the ones you got to make yourself, that's definitely going to be a 1. So let's see what they thought. And yep, the only one they gave was the modeling clay, but then they said the caramel cubes. I'm surprised the foam cubes were a 3. I would have put those at a 2 too. And the sugar cubes actually, I don't know. But the dice and the interlocking cubes are the best. Self-adhering, basically meaning do they stick together and will they stay stuck together? And so definitely these interlocking cubes are going to stick together. Caramel cube should stick alright. Modeling clay should stick alright. So I would probably say something like a 4 here. Maybe a 3 for the caramel. A 2 for the modeling clay. And then a 1 for the dice, the foam, and the sugar. And, oh, it's a yes or no question. Okay, so 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. Cleanup needed. Well, I would say with the cubes, the interlocking cubes, that's definitely no cleanup. Dice, maybe a little because of the tape. Caramel, maybe because it gets sticky, you might have a little cleanup there. Modeling clay, you might have little pieces that break off. Sugar cubes are the ones that definitely have a lot of cleanup. I mean, that should be your 1. And then modeling clay probably a 2, maybe caramel cubes a 2, foam cubes a 3 or a 2, and then dice maybe the 3, and that one definitely a 4. And so we'll get, yep, 4 there, 3 for the foam and the dice, 2 for the caramel. Sugar, really, I would have definitely given sugar a 1 and modeling clay a 2. Model resilience, basically meaning if you drop it on the floor, is it going to stay together? And so I know these interlocking cubes are pretty solid. I would give that a 4. If after I glue the sugar together and it dries, I would think that would actually be decent. I wouldn't give it a 4, but maybe a 3. The rest of them I would give maybe 2s and 1s. And that's basically what happened. Dice, they figured that tape might hold. Caramel and modeling clay, figure it's going to fall apart. And now testability, I'm going to skip. And so our total points comes out to 19 for the interlocking cubes, 17 for the dice and the sugar cubes, 14 for the foam cubes, 12 for the caramel cubes, and 10 for the modeling clay. So again, this is just kind of a way to figure out which of your choices is the best. And based on this, we got 19 there. It's the highest number. So we should be using interlocking cubes. Our second best are the sugar cubes and the dice. And so if you can't find interlocking cubes, those are the two second best choices. Okay, so to finish things out, I want to go through one example. This would be an example of one that would be for the tables. And so basically when you fill in your criteria chart, you want to put your types of tables on the side and your criteria across the top. And so I got a circle table made of wood. I got a rectangle table made of wood. I've got an oval table made of wood. I've got a square table made of wood. Then I decided I'm going to make a circle table made out of marble and a circle table made out of glass. And so one of the first criteria you almost always use is cost. And so I figured marble would probably be the most expensive, wood would probably be the cheapest, glass would be in the middle. So I always start just by going down. I'm only looking at cost. So I gave marble a 1, glass a 2. And then because my square table is smaller than my oval, rectangle, and circle tables, I gave my square table a 4 for being the cheapest. And I gave those 3 3s. My next category is shape. And this was more just preference. For me, I like the way an oval table looks. And so I gave my oval table a 4. And then I like circle second best. And so then I gave the 3 circle tables a 3, rectangle a 2, and square a 1. My next category I did was size. Basically, it's got to be able to hold 6 people. And so I was worried that my square table would not hold 6 people. So I gave that a 1 for no, and then I gave all the rest of them 2s for yeses. My next category was weight. I figured that marble tables are going to be really heavy, which is a bad thing, so I gave that a 1. I figured glass is going to be the second heaviest, so I gave that a 2. And then wood would be the lightest, so I gave those 3s, except for the square one because it's smaller, so I gave that a 4. I figured it would be the lightest one. Material. I really like marble, so I gave that a 3 because it's my favorite material. Glass I like, but not as much as marble, so I gave that a 2. And I gave all the wood ones a 1. You'll notice I didn't go up to 4 on this one, just because I only have 3 different materials, so I figured what's no point in going up to 4. Finally, color. I really like the way glass looks, and so I gave that a 3. I like marble kind of as much as glass, but not as much, so I gave that a 2. And then wood, I gave the 1s. I don't like them as much as glass and marble. And again, you'll notice I didn't go up to 4 on this one, since I only had 3 different colors. So then I went and added my points up, and guess what? I got 2 14s, a 13, and 3 12s. So my scores are all pretty close together. According to my chart here, I should be using either a wood oval or a glass circle. But what they say is, if it's in with a point or 2, you can technically choose the other ones. So I technically could make a wood circle, or I could actually, with my criteria chart, it doesn't even help that much because the points are so close together that they say if it's within 2 points, you could actually make any of these. So tomorrow I'm ready to start my final project of starting to build my model out of cardboard. I would also like to add that I'm purposely not trying to overload you guys with lots of work each day, so that basically my goal is that everyone gets their work turned in since grades are due on Wednesday. And when I see all these students missing work, that concerns me. And I know it's not because I'm giving you too much work. You just need to get your work done first, then go and do your other things you need to do. So please get your assignments turned in. Have a good day.